Pastor actually already laid the groundwork. You just go there, be passionate, be very, very passionate. And me growing up there now, become a Christian for 33 years now, and now out there in church. Really just because I was touched by God's love. And I'll share a little bit how I become Christ, but then I just want to introduce you. When you go to the West Coast, when you see people, a lot of people just basically like me. I'm going to tell you what they are like, okay? So this town in the West Coast is called, actually on the video, it's called Blanton. It's actually, if you guys know Chinese, that's not really such a good name because it's a very, how do you say it, very cultured woman. That's a name implies. Let's go. Okay, so I grew up in this town, Zhanghua Lugang. I don't know if you guys been there. It's a lot of temples, just like many places in the West Coast. And you see that big Buddha that's over the city of Zhanghua, and then the Tianhou Gong that's hundreds of years, and then in the middle that's a roof in the Longshan Si. It's hundreds of years since Qin Dynasty, and you heard the emperors actually visited that temple as well. That's from what I heard. And you see on the bottom left right there, it's a very famous tourist attraction right now, Lugang. It's a temple built of glasses. Okay, so that's all in my hometown. But yeah, it's a lot of great food, which we're gonna see here today as well, as I understand. Zhanghua Bawan. I don't know if you guys have that. I grew up with that stuff. I still eat that stuff. I still love that stuff. And on the top right, we're also very proud of them, the Zen. So a lot of oyster, a lot of good food. So it's very interesting. I'll share as well. So I was born here. And I actually grew up here in the northern coast of Taipei. But for some reason, God brought me back here when I was 10-year-old, and I left there when I was 15, and I'm going back there again. So it's a very interesting story, how God leads our lives. And so, just a little bit of history, Taiwanese history. Most of them not native Taiwanese, including myself. We're all actually all immigrants, most of them. Some of them, most of them came in since Qin Dynasty, a lot of, merchants, they left the southeast coast of China, okay? But my family, a lot of family in Taiwan, they had this thing on the plaque on the door frame on their traditional houses. You will see this, and this would actually mark where you are from, okay? So my family actually is from central China, upper north, Jiyang, it's like Shandong and Henan, something. So this actually tells me where I am, okay? And from the Qing Dynasty, my family actually, in Qing Dynasty came from here to here, Lugang. That's where I am. So if you see that, in Taiwan, they will say this thing called Ifu, Lu San Meng Jia, okay? All the immigrants, they came to the three major seaports since Qin Dynasty, right? So immigrant comes in like a lot of immigrants, your parents, your great-great-parents, they came over here, live in LA, San Fran, New York City, same thing, okay? And so my family was here, Lugang, and then a lot of Tainan, and then Danshui, Mengjia, that places. So I'm the ninth generation in Taiwan. And from what I heard, I was told that actually the ones that went to Taiwan, actually officials from Qing Dynasty, they're actually pretty smart. They're 秀才. I don't know if you heard of that term. But unfortunately, up to me, there's nothing left. But that's most people. And then of course that in 1949, the big civil war, and a lot of people left China with Chiang Kai-shek, and so you have this green, blue, and all this stuff, and it just never ends. Okay, and so today I want to talk a little bit about this is really very much their daily life. Growing up in a traditional Taiwanese family, ancestral worship is very important. Idol worship, it's part of their life. And so as you walk in the street of West Coast Taiwan, when you walk by the families, and especially during the night, you will see a lot of red lights, right, emanating from inside of the house. And they all have some sort of table, you know, or small temple, you know, in a house like this. On a bigger household, you will have a full-blown, you know, table that, you know, on that, and on the right side, this is the plaque, you know, for all your ancestors. So every morning you get out, you burn incense, right? And some birthdays, some, you know, special occasions, you have like big celebrations. So that's what you see, and you're gonna see that. And it's actually, you know, what pastor asked you a lot of questions, what's the difference, okay? So growing up in this family, you think that, oh, you know, all idol worshiper, all ancestor worshiper, the family is, you know, kind of messed up. But let me tell you, growing up, I actually like this a lot because you brought the family together. And you have very strong sense of passing down the torch. You know, family got together, all the elders got together, a very strong sense of family. And then you see all the stuff on the table, right? A lot of food, right? Feasting. So what kid doesn't like food, right? I love eating, right? You love eating. And then you love eating with your friends, all your cousins, all bunched together, New Year's, right? You go back to your grandma's house. A lot of us had this kind of memory. And after you got the red pocket money, you start gambling, right? So you play blackjack and all kinds of stuff. But on special occasion, you have this kind of worship together. On the top left, you see this two upside, you know, two they call Taiyu, says "Bua Bui." I don't know how you say that. But very interesting is, on special occasion, you worship, you put all the stuff. Supposedly, it's offering up to your ancestors, and they actually come back and eat this thing, right? And you do that thing to ask whether they're done eating or not. So if you show up on the right, you know, same side up or same side down, that means that they're not done yet. And if you go the opposite side, right, that means, okay, we're done, you guys can go ahead and eat now. So that's what we did, you know, growing up, you know, you will see my mom put all this, everything on the table, and then, you know, and you wait. And then you see that they burn a lot of paper money, right? And you burn that, and supposedly that will go to the underworld. Your ancestor will receive that, so they have money to spend in the underworld. They're not poor and nothing, right? And so you will see that in the traditional Taiwanese funerals, they will burn like Mercedes-Benz, a big boat, big house. So then in their, you know, afterlife, in their underworld, they have a big house to live, and they won't live, you know, they won't look like the poor guy in the underworld, right? So that's very interesting. But then that's actually very important, very essential in their life, because they really do believe it. Well, I guess I cannot say believe it, or they're fearful that, hey, if this is true, and I end up a poor guy in this life, and also a poor guy in the afterworld, then I'm really sad. So this is very important. That's why, and I'll say this, okay. So like I said, there's a very strong family tie, you know, at the passing down the torch. And so that's why in the Chinese culture, right, you know, the eldest son is very important. Thank God I have 3 daughters. I don't have that. And then they also believe that ancestors can have influence in their present life. Right? So that's why you offer it up to them, that they have a good life. And you see all the prime real estate in Taiwan, all taken by graves. If you ever seen there, if you first time to Taiwan, you drive through, you know, the freeway, you see on the hillside, you know, on the hillside you see here all like expensive mansions and all that stuff. But in Taiwan, it's all occupied by the graves, because, you know, they believe that, you know, people in afterlife actually have influence on the present life. They believe in this thing called feng shui, right? So your ancestor has a great places actually would bring blessing to your life and to your great-great-great-grandson's life. So you can be rich, you can be, you know, next official and all that stuff. So that's what they believe. And on the other hand, like I said, that they are very worried that if I passed away, nobody remembers me. It's a very sad afterlife, right? 变成孤魂野鬼. Okay, that is something that that's, so that's why they, if I'm alive today, I tell my son, you gotta remember to worship me when I passed away. So when I die, I will have Mercedes-Benz to drive in the underworld as well, right? So it's very interesting, this mindset, you grow up in this mindset. That's why it's still very tough for my mom, to come to Christ. I've been doing this for over 30 years. Like, hey, all generation, my mom, my dad, my grandpa, everybody does this. If I don't do it, right? So this is a tradition, not necessarily they really believe in it, okay? Just like a lot of Muslims, they actually don't read Quran. A lot of Christians don't read Bible. A lot of kids growing up there, they actually don't know what this is all about. They're just basically going through the motion and doing this. And it's similar things, okay? And so this is, and so this is the fear factor. You get no blessing in this present life as well. Okay, so that's very much tied into their belief. But this is something that what's a good news, right? What's a good news in this, right? So you read from John 14, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, also believe in me. My Father's house has many rooms, right? We want big houses, big cars. Jesus actually prepared it for us. Okay, we have a place to go. Actually, we know the place to go. Okay, for a lot of them, then they have no certainty. Okay, if they were not so, I would have told you, what I'm going to prepare a place for you. Okay, if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me. That you'll also be where I am. Okay, this is something that they don't have. This is something we believe in. We know that when we die, we have a place to go. Jesus will actually come and get us. Okay? And so we say, hey, we're on a journey that this faith, all these people were still living by faith when they died. Guys like Abraham, like Moses. Abraham was promised many sons and daughters, right? But he did not see it. He simply accepted, right? And he believed it. They did not receive the things they promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting they were foreigners and strangers on us. People who say such things say they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. This should be what we're looking for, a Christian. A lot of your parents and grandparents, like my dad too, brought me here thinking that I would have a good life here in America. In Chinese, says 美国. It's a very beautiful country, but you'll realize that it's not much better than many countries, right? It's sometimes 没有那么的美. It's not really that beautiful, but we have some place that's much better than the present world. So it's really not where you live. It's really what you're hoping and what you believe. If we can, this is the good news that we can tell the Taiwanese people that, hey, there is a great afterlife that's promised. And so the other things like idol worship. So in Taiwan, there are many gods. Anything goes. Each one choose their own, whatever you're after. So I'll just give you some of the more popular ones. You see on the top there here, the Mila for you see them in the restaurant here. Very happy face, happy Buddha. Supposed to bring you lots of money. And this is Guangong. Guangong is supposed to be the war generals in the old days have become God, and you see a lot of business people worship this because they need some people to help them just fight, right? Because a lot of times you have business contract not going through, right? You want a general who can fight for you, right? And then this is 土地公, 土地婆. This is really your local father and mother. Really supposed to take care of the so-called territorial spirit. It's in every places. And this is 月下老人. So you try to get married, try to find your love of your life. You go worship him, and he can kind of try to hook you up. And then Guan Yin is a lot of. So this is actually one of the biggest follower because, as you're living on the coastside, right? So a lot of people are seagoing, right? You see merchants, you see fishermen on the Southeast China, Taiwan, and this is when you go out, to fish, you be safe return and all that stuff. So these are all very important. The biggest, temple actually, mostly this. And then this is, I don't know how you say this, San Taizi. It's like a little kid. How you say this? The little kid, the young child of their god, like Zeus. Think like the Chinese version of Zeus. And you see that it's been modernized. We did not really have this thing when I was growing up. But see, this is all commercialized, and you become like Bob had those kind of bobblehead dolls that you get Dodger Stadium and all that stuff, and now you get this like real figure running around in all the festivals. But really, you choose whatever, and they have temples, right, erected all over Taiwan. All these, you can go to temple to worship, but you can also go to temple and then invite the little idol and bring it back to your house and put on the table that I told you about, that you see in the very beginning. So in your house, you will have a place for your ancestor and also for a God that you worship. Okay. So like I said, you could be invited back to your home, and then you worship time. We said we should have daily devotions. They also do daily devotions. Every morning they came out. My mom burns an incense, right? And then every lunar calendar, every 1st and 15th, they also do this kind of festivity. And then on their birthdays of gods, you also celebrate, and there were big feasts in the festival. And we, heard about July, in Taiwan. Supposedly, all the good brothers and sisters, they call 好兄弟, all the ghosts. You know what? They have a month. They have a month of vacation from hell. So they'll come out in the month of July, in the lunar calendar July, okay? And so they'll come out, and then all the temples, they actually have great feasts for all these people. And suppose you bribe them, they have a good time here, so they go back, to their places, so they don't bug you for the rest of the year. And it's very festive. Like I said, you say it's kind of funny joke, but I enjoy a lot of of this thing growing up because very, very festive. Lots of food. So this is the temple actually right next to my house. It's just actually I'm actually older than this temple. It was built after I was born. And this is when I was struck because one day Elder Allen was sharing this ministry in my church. He did not know I was from this town. So he showed that we have ministry over there, and I sat there in the audience. I'm like, oh my God, that's those trees in front of the temple. My mom takes care of them. I know all the elders of the temple. He actually has a house here in Arcadia. And this guy, is actually somewhat related. He's also one of the mediums I'm going to talk about. And so I know everything there is to know, all the people that runs the temple. And so I was in shock. Oh my goodness, it's so that's what brought me to this industry. It's very interesting, So like I said, during the festivity times in the 大拜拜, you have a lot of, you got theaters, you have puppet shows, you have Taiwanese drama, you're showing to the gods, right? But it's a big party for the town, showing movies. So you have lots of foods, right? Like what we're doing right here. Local street foods, sausages, you have a lot of games. And, so, I was kind of like that as a little kid. So it's very festive, very happy, and, it's really fun time. And then you see all this worship, pig, and you put a big orange in the mouth of the pig. In Taiwanese, 叫甘, it's the same word as Mandarin, 甘愿. Okay, 甘愿. So it's like okay, but that pig is not 甘愿. So actually, tell a story. Actually, when as a kid, I really loved going to the slaughterhouse. They used to slaughter this by hand, right? And I can tell you about it if you're interested. But during festival time, 大拜拜时间, you will see this big pigs because they raise them, to be like a competition, like the biggest possible, and the pig like so big that they cannot walk themselves. They get pulled in, they get slaughtered. And that's actually, anyway. And you see all these mediums stuff going off, and you think they're acting out. A lot of them really is spirit coming upon them. Okay, it's really, I'll tell you stories, and so they have this, stuff going on. But then not everybody can beat this. Okay, not everyone really can have to be a medium. Actually, it has to be selected. So I see growing up, like a lot of young men, people going to try out. And they hold, like, you and I will hold this little, carriers, and then you will start shaking, and then the spirit chose you, likes you, will come upon you, and you will start go off and do all kinds of crazy stuff, okay? And so as a kid, I really loved going to the temple. It's like, oh, it's going. So you get all your friends and rushing to the temple and see them do this kind of stuff. And so when I say, it's real, because I remember one time a guy, going through the process, and spirit really come upon him, and he started going off. Okay, you have a like a human carrier like this, much bigger than this, and you have like 10 or 12 strong men holding this carrier, and the guy was here in the front, and the 10, 12 people get pulled back and forth, could not control that guy. So you see where the power is coming from. It's not natural, okay? It's really supernatural. So when we say there's a Holy Spirit, that's also the dark side of things, there is. So when I came to Christ, this thing is very easy for me to understand because I've seen it. So remember in Luke, chapter 8, Jesus described, right? He went to this town, right? And then Jesus, stepped ashore. He was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. For a long time, this man had not worn clothes, lived in a house, but had lived in a tomb, right? Lived in a tomb, right? And when he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, "What do you want from me?" Right? But the key thing you see down here is, many times it has seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broken his chain and had been driven by the demon into solitary places. I see great powers. I see them stick a big needle through their faces. They have a big stick with nails. That's when they start, spirit come out, they put this thing and they hit their back, right? And you see blood coming off, but then they're totally unconscious. They're totally possessed by the spirit, right? And yes, I love watching that as a kid. But so this is real. This is not just some made up fantasy that there are actually evil spirits in this world. And then you worship them, they come upon you. And so you heard about this. They market territories. This is on the West Coast. They start going off this thing, and they walk from temple to temple. And now you see them start getting into schools. That's why there's an urgency. We're gonna tell them the real good news. And I want to tell you, and what as a result, right? I've seen many crazy stuff in my hometown. One thing I want to share is many years ago, when there's like a lottery fever, okay? So 6 numbers, and so what happened back then was these mediums that I talked about. A lot of people become mediums because you get in touch with the underworld. The underworld can tell me what the number is so you can get rich, right? And so many people in their own homes erected all these temples so people can come and ask for the real number. And if you win one time, you hit it big, because now the entire Taiwanese will come to your house, ask for their numbers. So they pay you money and you start going like and what happened afterwards, in my hometown, in my next door of me, a very close friend of mine grew up together. actually somewhat, distant, relative. The father went into this business and become a medium. And pretty soon afterwards, you see all kinds of stuff opening up from their family. My best, not best friend, a friend, starting having psychological issues. You see demonic influence in their home. You see suicides. You see that they start going to cuckoo house, and the family got destroyed. And then I was told, growing up that, some my distant relatives, was a medium sometimes, and the guy would walk up in the middle of the night, right? No conscious, and in the morning you found him sitting on the table I was talking about and just doing like this. And you ask him how you end up there, he had no idea, right? So growing up, I see a lot of, demonic influences in the town like this, okay? And one time I saw a drunken neighbor. He's basically drunk, alcoholic. Every day he's on the street in his home, not doing anything. And one day he started going off. And all the kids were like, oh yeah, someone started, God, Spirit come upon me. And so I went to his house. And then so they got the temple elders came over and then started dialogue with that person, with that God supposedly come upon them. So you take out the brush pens, right? You put it on white paper and they start communicating. And so that drunkard, I've never seen him like awake or anything, but he started writing stuff, on that paper, right? And then it was so funny. It's like, I was a god, I was a general, nobody worshiped me, nobody remembers my birthday. And so pretty soon we have a new idol in that temple, right? This is the new god that showed up, right? So all kinds of crazy stuff. And then, Dixian, I guess it's, similar to the Ouija board. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Hopefully you don't, and then don't go and find out, okay? Many of you actually have heard of this. Like basically, you put your hand on a dish, and then the papers have all the letters and all this stuff, words, and you will point to, you ask a question, a spirit come, and then you will take you to the words and answer your question. And it's just same thing, right? It's like it's like modern day addiction, right? A lot of people addicted to pornography, tobacco, all this stuff. When you start opening to it, right? Stuff does come upon you, right? And so this tradition of idol worship, ancestral worship, and so their life are very much influenced, and you kind of say that somewhat cursed, very cursed, right? You see family issues, you see psychological issue. I see that in my own family. I see alcoholic in my own family and how they destroy the family. And so they really need this good news. And so I don't know if you guys, Pirates of the Caribbean fan. I really love Pirates. I love Johnny Depp. And one of this episode, and actually many episodes, you see it, right? A lot of these great captains, they're under curse. They wish they're dead, but they're not dead because they're cursed, right? And this one special episode, this is, Captain Salazar, the Spaniard, also is under curse. I don't know if you remember, they got the trident, right? And then all curses are lifted. Anyway, you can actually hear God's voice watching a movie too. And so when I saw that, it's really like, hey, as growing up in those kind of environment, I see the problem in my family and all that stuff. And when I come to Christ, this is what God told me, right? You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. Because when you did, you bring curse upon yourself. That's what happened to the Israelites. And I see that in front of my own eyes, a lot of West Coast people. I'm the Lord God and a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of their parents to the third and fourth generation. But those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations, those who love me and keep my commandments. So by me coming to Christ, I'm hoping that, right, the curse turned into blessing, right? I used to run around temples, right? Now my kid is growing up, running around with her friends in the temple of the true God, right? And the blessings that we have, all the curse that we have, it's all broken. And this is something that we can tell them. You don't have to fear. Okay, there is a blessing. And so this is what we do, right? This is Genesis 12, call Abraham. Lord said to Abraham, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you, I'll make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless them who blesses you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all people on earth will be blessed through you. Be a blessing. If you see that actually Abraham, he responded to God's call, and he actually went to live in Canaan. And Canaan is not a Christian land, is it? It's actually a land full of idols, and their idols are even worse than what you see in Taiwan. They offer their babies, to gods. It's really awful, thing they do. But God sent him there. He obeyed, and he went, and he lived among them, right? And so it's the same thing. We're doing. Even though you think Taiwan coast is so horrible and all that stuff, but God sent you there so they might have hope. Okay. But by being obedient, going there, what Abraham did, what he received in return, he actually, received the miracles, right? Because remember, his wife could not, conceive child. The womb is already dead. So that means that he experienced the miracles of resurrection, right? If he, I often ask the question, if Abraham, remember God came to Abraham and said, hey, Abraham, I need you to go to Canaan. Abraham said, yeah, you know what? I'm in LA, nice weather, even June, the sunshine. I got a nice house in Arcadia, Temple City. I'm doing pretty well, good job, good health care. I'm young and healthy, I'm doing pretty well, a lot of children, a lot of, church. You know what? You send someone else, right? What happened if Abraham said no? Then he would have missed this, right? He would not have sons and daughters. He would miss that. But instead, right, he is the father of many sons and daughters. He's blessing to many generations to come. And remember what I said, that what the Taiwanese or many Chinese actually cared the most. They want to have many sons and daughters. They want to be a blessing. You want to, afterlife to bless the present life, right? Abraham continued to bring blessings to many, to you and I, right? So you want to be a true blessing, right? You want to be like Abraham, right? You have many, many sons and daughters. So I came to the U.S. when I was 15, and really had no idea what Christianity is. So first time in church, February 1987, I went to this church not too far away, EFCLA. Well, not used to be here, used to be now. So I went to the Friday night fellowship, high schooler, and I still remember the very first time when I walked in, like 15, 20 people, all of a sudden, they all came to me. They were all excited about me joining the fellowship. They look at me, they start asking all kinds of questions. Where are you from? And all this stuff. Get all excited. The first night, I was so overwhelmed, right? We become best of friends. Play together. They love me unconditionally, right? So when time comes, they ask them whether you want to receive Jesus in your heart, right? What are you gonna say? No. Right? So that's why I said, what Pastor was just shared that, hey, you have this unconditional love. When you go to the West Coast, many kids, they really have no idea. They have no idea, right? What is ancestral worship, what is Buddhism, whatever, family, they are the consequence. Or you can say they're the victim of this curse. They have no idea, right? They're not Buddhists, like I said. They're just following what the family's doing. So when you show up with great passion and just love them, you know what? They get melted, and then the seed of gospel get placed in there. And it's very fun. They're actually very open. They don't kill you. They don't slaughter you. They don't not like ISIS. They want to put a gun to you, say you want to denounce Christianity. It's actually very, very, very open. But then you see there are many, many these difficulties for them to really accept Oh, what happened? If I become a Christian, then I'm not bye-byeing anymore. What happened to my ancestors? They're gonna become 孤魂野鬼, and I'm gonna be the one to get blamed, right? Because I stopped worshiping from me. So those are the stuff that's got stuck in the, maybe the older people. They have this kind of, they feel the responsibility that they could carry on the family torch. But the young people you're gonna be facing with, just go and have a great time with them. And this is our call. God blessed us, and we can be a blessing. So I often tell many kids, because I've seen the difference between, growing up the family with God, with this kind of condition, versus family with the true God. It's different. It's night and day. I encourage you to go to the funerals, the traditional Taiwanese funeral, and to our Christian funerals. There's so much hope, right? And so that's why I tell the young kids nowadays, open your eyes and see which one you want to choose. Very simple, very easy. And I'm glad I chose, the life that God gave me. And just wrap it up, very, very, very interesting. Like, maybe God has a special will in your life. God leads us in different places. Short-term mission sometimes become long-term mission. I was born here, went to here till 9 years old. Somehow, you could say that, I have no ties back here, what happens back here. But very interestingly, God brought me back here when I was 10 years old, right? At 15, I left, came to U.S., and I became a Christian. And then for some reason, God brought me back. And actually, we'll have a ministry, because I would never imagine, when I was growing up there, I never imagined I'll get on a flight, go to U.S. And now I saw the ministry going on, I was like, oh my, you become a Christian, you kind of like forgot, what's going on back there. And then when there's ministry going on, I was like in shock. Oh really? Oh my goodness, God is really doing something there. So anyway, so go there, have a good time, and you'll be a blessing for the local people. You'll be surprised how much you'll be an influence to them. All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for your blessing upon us. And thank you for the message we received this morning. We're reminded again, the love for us is unconditional. And then the love that you gave us is for all. Not just for our family, not just for myself. It's for everybody that we get in contact with. Lord, I pray the blessing upon the brothers and sisters about to go on this trip to Taiwan, that you would open up their eyes and you would let them see that who that is in us is greater than who that is in the world. And they would experience your mighty power. As they go and minister, they will feel your Holy Spirit work with them, and they be a blessing to these children that we're going to minister. We thank you for this time together. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.